As you know, the S&P 500 hit its highest high ever after hitting over $5,000 for the first time ever. And you all know how I feel about the S&P 500. But everyone knows that the only reason why the S&P 500 is doing so well is really because of only two sectors. The tech sector, and in particular microchips and semiconductor companies, are absolutely crushing everything else. Google and Amazon are absolute behemoths in this space, but a microchip company just beat them in total market cap. Nvidia's stock is up 52% this year alone. At press time, Nvidia's market cap is now $1.8 trillion, beating Amazon and Google's parent company Alphabet to become the world's fourth most valuable company. If one would have invested $10,000 into Nvidia in 2010, today they'd have over $1.3 million. Now yes, if you would have invested in Nvidia way back then, you'd be very happy today. But right now, it's literally at the highest it's ever been after a crazy run, and right now would actually be one of the more risky times to be investing in Nvidia if you're investing for the first time ever. With a PE ratio of almost 100, this company is pretty expensive and overvalued in the stock market today, in my opinion. But what we can see is that this technology, specifically microchips, semiconductors, is only increasing, and it's definitely not going away anytime soon. It would be risky to buy this one company or any one semiconductor company, but to buy an ETF that has a bunch of these types of companies might be a very smart move to cash in on that upside, but also curb your risk and make sure that you have different companies just in case any one of them falls very much. The other ones will hold you up. This video is going to highlight 3 ETFs that should not only annihilate the S&P 500 in the near future, but also in the next 10 to 20 years. If you stick around to the end, I'm actually going to give you a bonus ETF that I just found that I'm sure that you've never heard of, but this one is actually crushing it even more. And it's super cheap. In this video, I'm also going to explain how you can get 15 free stocks and take part in a money market account that gives you 8.1%. But for now, my name is Nolan Govea. My students call me Professor G, and I made this channel to make investing simplified. Now, this first ETF on this list is probably the one that's the most safe and diversified, but it also has an incredible track record. I never really want to invest in an ETF that's too new, so I'm looking for one with long history. This one has had an incredible year of returns at over 40%, but what I like to see even more is that the average return over 10 years is 15%. That's much higher than even VU or the S&P 500 10-year average return. So this is an amazing ETF, and it's called MGK, and it is the Vanguard Mega Cap Growth ETF. Usually huge growers like this have a crazy high expense, but this one is nice and low at 0.07%. Its current price is about $281 today, and MGK tracks the CRSP US Mega Cap Growth Index. It provides a convenient way to get diversified exposure to the largest growth stocks in the US market. Like I said before, it's a well-diversified fund, so it actually helps the investor's risk and keeps that low because it's diversified into different sectors, not all into one area. What we care about most though here is that it is heavy in technology, and this one definitely is at over 59%. It also has a solid amount of consumer discretionary, healthcare, and industrial. It has all the top companies you'd want to see, but very heavy in Apple and Microsoft. But then also companies like Nvidia, as I talked about before, and then also Meta and Tesla. MGK is one of the best growth funds on the market, but also a lot more safe because it's only investing in the largest companies. That's where that mega cap comes from. By investing in huge companies, it's much harder for them to fail because they have such a competitive advantage and usually have so much cash on hand. So this is a great one for your portfolio. The next ETF blows that one out of the water. But first, I want to introduce today's video sponsor, Moomoo, and explain how you can get 15 free stocks just for getting started with Moomoo. Moomoo is one of my favorite trading platforms. Unlike other apps, you can tap into pro-level tools and information for both beginners and advanced investors absolutely free. I care most about keeping you all safe, so I look deep into the safety of this one. Moomoo Financial is a member of the SIPC, which protects securities customers of its members up to $500,000, including $250,000 for claims for cash. Moomoo also has no hidden fees, no minimum deposit required, or no account management fee. One of the things that really caught my attention about Moomoo and that I think you are gonna love is the impressive 5.1% APY and extra 3% APY for your uninvested cash. If you're going to start investing and don't know what stocks to buy, Moomoo can assist you with its easy-to-use tools. I recommend you use the heat map and heat list to discover potential opportunities. Once you've identified a stock to explore further, you can also check out their stock quote page. You're going to want to click the link down in my description. You can get up to 15 free stocks by opening an account and depositing funds. I mean, even if you invest somewhere else, 15 free stocks sounds like quite the deal. Check it out and then send me a message of which 15 free stocks you got. Now, this next ETF has become incredibly popular just in the last couple of years due to its heavy involvement with microchips and semiconductors. Almost everything involves technology these days, and almost everything is just getting more and more technologically advanced. Smartphones, TVs, computers, video games, advanced medical diagnostic equipment, and even our cars and trucks are packed full of computing systems that require these microchips. Our world is just only needing more and more of these, so owning an ETF that specifically tracks this is such a smart move. SMH is the VanEck Semiconductor ETF, and it tracks the MVIS US listed Semiconductor 25 index, which is intended to track the overall performance of companies involved in semiconductor production and equipment. It's currently listed at $202, and year to date it's up already 15%. It has an expense ratio of 0.35%, which is higher but also expected for an ETF like this. The returns are literally insane. Over the past year, it's up 57%. What? It can't keep going like that, can it? Over the past 10 years, on average, it's brought over 26% return per year. Wow. If you would have invested $10,000 in 2011 when the fund was born, you would now have over $150,000. SMH is very heavy in NVIDIA, which is great to see at over 24%, but also super solid microchip style companies like Taiwan Semiconductor, Broadcom, Advanced Micro Devices, ASML, Qualcomm, and Texas Instruments. Most of the companies in the fund come from the United States, but it does diversify internationally, which can definitely be a plus for diversification for your portfolio as well. The numbers speak for themselves, and SMH is definitely one of the top, if not the top, semiconductor ETFs right now. I would definitely consider adding this to the growth portion of your 3-fund portfolio as soon as possible. The next one on this list is also very heavy in semiconductors because that's just the future. But guess what? Like I said, after this one, I'm going to give you a bonus ETF that actually beats this one, but both are good for you to consider. Anyway, this ETF is called SOX, or SOXX, and it is the iShares Semiconductor ETF. It has a current price of over $628. It's up over 9% year to date and has the same expense as SMH at 0.35%. It actually has a higher return though over the past year at over 66%. Over the past 10 years on average, it's had an incredibly solid over 24% appreciation per year. There's 30 total holdings and the PE ratio is a bit above 34, which isn't crazy for this sector. SOXX has a lot of the same companies as SMH, but has a better balance of them, which is definitely something to consider. NVIDIA is still the highest, but only at 10% of the fund, whereas SMH was more like 25%. Other big companies here are Advanced Micro Devices, Broadcom, Qualcomm, and Intel. This fund is pretty much all semiconductors or semiconductor equipment. And now, like I said, for this bonus ETF, this is pretty much almost exactly like SOXX, except for it's cheaper and it has a better expense. The Invesco PHLX Semiconductor ETF, or SOXQ, is very interesting. SOXQ is only $36 and it's up 13.49% year to date. The thing I like most about it is it actually has the lowest fee in this semiconductor space, lower than SMH and SOXX at about half. And this one only has a fee of 0.19%. This one also has 30 holdings, but its 10-year average appreciation is higher than SOXX at over 25% per year. Looking at the actual holdings, it's almost identical to SOXX with the amount of its top 10 holdings. NVIDIA, Advanced Micro Devices, Broadcom, Qualcomm, Intel, and the rest look almost exactly the same. So with this one, you're getting all the good stuff of SOX, but at a cheaper expense and at a way cheaper share price. So that if you don't have $600 to buy a share, you could definitely buy into this one at much, much cheaper. Let me know which one of these you're the most interested in, and then watch this video to help keep you going towards that financial freedom in 2024. Because things have definitely changed and you need to understand them. To see which other ETFs are beating the S&P 500, watch this video right now to build the ultimate portfolio.